Welcome, everybody, to your free GMAT Prep Hour. My name is Reed Arnold. It is September 23rd, 2024. I am here to guide you once again through the wonderful world of the GMAT at one of Manhattan Prep's free prep hours. We do have, for those of you looking for more free options, we have many items available to you. First off, you can take the first class of any of our GMAT courses for free. You do not have to sign up. You can attend it as a trial student, see if you like our vibe, see if you like our material, see if you like the teacher, all that good stuff. I always tell people you might as well do that even if you have no intention of signing up, because we talk about some big stuff in class one and you might as well take the resource that's available to you. You can do a similar thing with our interactive on-demand course. That's our self-paced study. You can get kind of a sample of that, which again, might as well do. It's free. We also have Foundations of GMAT Math workshops going on, usually one of each a month. There are two sessions that you can attend for free, two 5-hour sessions, one on computation and one on variables. We do one of each a month, sometimes two of each a month, so check out calendars for those. And then we have these free GMAT prep hours, which we do one or two of a month, and we have recordings of previous free GMAT prep hours on our YouTube page. And frankly, at this point, it's all more than a course, more than a syllabus worth of material for you. You can really get a lot of GMAT nuggets of wisdom in these courses, and probably more than you could possibly need to get a great score. So take a look at those if you're trying to study on a budget. Today's lesson, I'm curious about this one. I've said in previous sessions recently that I've talked about a lot in these free GMAT prep hours. As I said, we have a whole library worth of things for you to watch and a lot of good resources there. And I find it harder and harder to come up with lessons that I think will be useful, that add something new to the conversation. But I'm excited about this one and hopeful for it. I think it's going to maybe be eye-opening, perhaps, or at least something maybe that you hadn't thought about, and something that I don't think is talked about much, and maybe certainly not talked about in the way we're going to talk about it. And it's something I realized I do on verbal questions, and not that the way I do things is the only way to handle GMAT stuff, but I am often trying to, when I'm trying to teach people the skills to get a high score on this test, there's some things that I had to really put my own process under a microscope to realize what I was doing. And I found that there's some things that I kind of did without being aware of it that are strategically useful. And so I'm kind of parting that wisdom to you. And basically what we're going to talk about today is in verbal, when you can stop reading an answer choice. And the reason I'm talking about this is because I want you to be able to save time on the verbal section with thoughtful reading. I tell my classes very often that it's important to understand reading is different than thinking. Thinking is not reading, reading is not thinking, and it's a thinking test. We have to take what is written, of course, and we have to read it, of course, but we also have to think about it. And that aspect is often overlooked in the name of reading, just consuming words, top to bottom, left to right, go, 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 never stop, never think. And I actually think that by stopping and thinking more frequently than many people do naturally, I actually think you'll find that you will actually save time uh, than you would if you just kind of consumed words over and over again. Okay. And one thing I really realized, and the reason I'm hopeful for this lesson is because is that I realized I very often in reading comp and in critical reasoning, I very often in the middle of an answer choice would kind of check out of that answer choice. I kind of realized, I don't think this is the right answer. I'm pretty sure this is wrong. And by doing that, I didn't have to read the rest of the answer or think about the rest of the answer. And it ended up really saving me time. And I also like this lesson because it touches on something that the GMAT is also testing that is sometimes lost in the weeds here, which is that one thing they are looking for is whether you can decide. They're testing your executive functioning, meaning can you decide strategically what is worth your time and focus and energy and what is not. And in verbal, there's just too many damn words, to put it bluntly. And you need to be able to strategically decide what words are worth your time and thought and focus, and which of those words aren't worth your time and thought and focus. You cannot read, and you certainly cannot think about every word that comes across your test equally in the verbal section because there's simply not enough time. And being able to strategically realize, okay, this is worth my time and this is not worth my time is a huge asset on this test. And one that, again, I think is maybe under practiced. I think a lot of students read every word every time. And there's, as I said, there's just not there's really not time for that, not to do it well. And so we're going to talk about saving time on answer choices in particular with really thoughtful reading of those answer choices. Um, Now, I really do want to emphasize that this is a skill that works in conjunction with many other necessary skills. And we have free GMAT prep hours to talk about a lot of those. You'll see as we work through the problems that we're going to do, you'll see those skills in play, and you'll recognize why they are important for this skill to be an added value. But with those other skills, I do think this is an added value. Another very important thing about moving quickly through verbal is choosing the right answer faster. And what I mean by that is not reading every answer choice. There are times in the verbal section where if you know answer B, if you've done some good work reading the passage and reading the question and knowing what the answer kind of needs to be, and then answer B is that answer, you need to get into the habit of every now and then choosing B and getting out of Dodge, right? You don't need to read C, D, and E, save time. If you're not sure if B feels kind of right, but you're not entirely sure, sure, keep reading, read C, D, and E. Um, but there definitely needs to be some questions. It might only be 3 or 4 a test, right? I'm not saying every time, but every now and then there should be a question where you feel confident enough to say, okay, it's B, I got to move on, or it's A, or it's C. One of those early answers seems correct. I'm going to choose it and get out of there. Okay. But today, what we're really focusing on is getting rid of wrong answers faster by recognizing that they're just not right. The way the sentence starts halfway through, or sometimes even a few words into it, I know it's just wrong. Okay. So with that in mind, let's just do a warm-up problem here and just do this problem, choose an answer. I'm going to give you 2 minutes, which is the time you have for a critical reasoning passage. Go ahead, do this problem, choose an answer, and then we'll talk about this topic today. That is 2 minutes. If you are watching a recording and you would like a little extra time, hit pause, but don't take too much without choosing an answer. You want to get used to choosing an answer in about 2 minutes, 3 minutes max for critical reasoning. It's just a good habit to get into. And I will tell you, for those of you that are in the room, that the answer to this question is B. Okay, so if you're watching the recording and you didn't choose B, I want you to hit pause and see if you can figure out why the answer is B. That's kind of step one. It's always first just like, okay, hold up, see if I can figure out why the answer is B. For those of you that are in the room, and spoiler, there's only one person in the room. So hi, Juliana, welcome to the room. What I want you to do, and for those of you watching the recording, what I want you to do now that you know the answer is B, is I want you to look at A, B, D, and E. And I want you to really think about which word in those answer choices, by which word in those answer choices, could I confidently, or pretty confidently, maybe let's soften it a little bit, could I pretty confidently say, I don't think this is the right answer? By what word in the answer choice do I kind of recognize, would a thoughtful test taker realize, you know what, I don't think that's going to be the thing. So, Juliana, I want you to take here 4 minutes or so to really think about this. And those of you that are watching at home, take about 4 minutes to do this exercise, or hit pause, take as long as you want, frankly. But I'm going to come back in 4 minutes and talk about how I might think about that. All right, so that's about 4 minutes here. So let's talk about this. Again, if you're at home, you can feel free to pause and keep thinking. But as I mentioned before, it's important to remember that this skill comes in conjunction with other skills. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about how one might do those, achieve those skills. There are videos for that. In particular, I think it's really important to uh, set a good goal for the answer here. You need to know what you need the answer to do here. And by that, I don't mean generically weaken the argument, right? I want you want a good sense of the argument structure, which finding the argument structure is also a big skill in this question type. But you want to be able to find the structure and think about the argument and come up with a good specific idea for what weakening the argument would mean here so that you can move through the answers more efficiently and more quickly. Right. Basically, what I have here is a story that says the number of Crevonians in college has been growing steadily. Okay, so the last few years, the number of students in college is growing. Therefore, the number of Crevonians entering the job market with a college degree will be higher than it has been. That's basically what's going on. Hey, the number in college is growing, so pretty soon the number in the workforce with a college degree will grow, will be higher. Notice the first part here is really irrelevant to the argument. This is kind of just background. It says if you have a college degree, you have a higher salary. That's not particularly relevant to the actual logic of this argument. This argument is simply, hey, I got more people in colleges now. In the last few years, it's been going up. So the number of workers with a college degree will probably also go up. If I'm going to weaken that argument, I'm going to, maybe that number of college degrees in the workforce won't go up, right? To weaken, maybe the number of workers with degrees won't go up, even though the numbers in college has gone up. Okay. I remember the first time I did this question, I think I thought something like, well, maybe they don't graduate, right? Maybe because there's a lot of people in colleges, but a lot of them are dropping out. Maybe dropout rates are way higher than usual. That was kind of where I was thinking this argument was going to go, which is not quite what the right answer says, right? But your goal is not to predict the exact right answer, but to get in the rough ballpark of what kind of thing am I looking for here, right? Okay, so then I go to A. And the point of this drill is, again, where could I stop reading or at least be reasonably confident that this is the wrong answer? Okay, Crevonians with more than one college degree earn more. And even before earn more, right? As soon as I'm reading this, what could possibly come next that is going to make me think that, okay, the number of workers won't go up? The number of workers with a college degree won't go up. And that's a good question to ask yourself when you're doing this drill, right? When doing this drill and an answer's wrong, ask yourself, what could the rest of the sentence say that would make it right? Make this answer correct. That's a really good kind of exercise and a good practice for critical reasoning broadly. What could you tell me about people with more than one college degree here that could possibly be a right answer? I have a hard time thinking of one. And then you tell me that it's about how much they earn than those without a college degree, or than those with only one college degree, right? I think by here, I'm pretty reasonably sure this answer is wrong. And even maybe here, it just doesn't seem relevant. And so once A says Crevonians with more than one college degree, I'm kind of wondering, who cares? I'm talking about the number of workers who have a college degree, not who have more than one compared to anyone else. I just don't care about anything you're about to say, right? It's not worth my focus. Okay. B is the right answer, but let's talk about why, you wouldn't do this with B. right? Why would B keep staying in the running? Because you don't want to get rid of the right answer, right? Okay, so it says the average number of years Crevonian students. Okay, so we are talking about probably students in college, I presume, right? If it then said, college, oh, it does say college students, right? If it said the average number of years Crevonian kindergarten students, then I'd be like, who cares, right? But the average number of years Crevonian college students, okay, so we're talking about college students, we're talking about time in college. It's kind of interesting. Remain enrolled before completing a degree. So it's like, okay, well, maybe we're talking about students who take a long time to graduate, or students um, who don't take a long time to graduate. Maybe they graduate really fast, or maybe it takes them a long time. If that number has been increasing recently, so basically, students are staying in college longer more than they used to. That average is going up. Yeah, okay, well, that seems relevant because it's not that there's more people graduating from college. It's actually that there's probably been a decrease recently in graduates because people are staying longer. And once they graduate, we'll just return to normal workflow levels. The number entering the workforce won't be increased. It's just that they stayed in college longer. But nothing here ever makes me think, okay, that's not relevant. The average number of years college students remain. Okay, so we're talking about college students. We're talking about how long they're in college before they get a degree. All of this seems very relevant to what the argument is dealing with. So there's never a moment where I think that's wrong. Get rid of it. Okay, C. Despite the increase in the number of Crevonians attending college. That, for one, is irrelevant to, like, in some ways, now that I kind of think about this whole thing is just, who cares? That doesn't give me any new information, right? That's the kind of thing in a critical reasoning argument that you just don't need to pay attention to. That's not like that doesn't weaken. That's just, who cares? Whatever you're about to say, whatever that intro was, who cares? We already know that this is true. We already know that there's oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm going to take that right back. This answer does actually tell us it's an increase. No, we already know that. We already know there's an increase in Crevonians attending college. So this doesn't tell us any new information. Okay. Then they tell us the percentage of the population. And that's where I check out. I don't care. Nothing about it is relevant. I already know that the number of people in college is higher. The percentage of a population, maybe there's a world where I could construe a right answer from that, but it's going to be really, really specific and almost like bizarrely so. Like the percentage of the population, maybe the percentage of the population who attend college but don't graduate. Maybe if it said that has skyrocketed. Okay, there's a right answer. But even that, I'm a little skeptical of. It still seems like there's a lot of refinement on that I would need to know. But once you start talking about a percentage of population, I just don't care. And then if I do skim the rest of the answer, lower in Cravonia than other countries, I don't care. I don't care about a comparison of percentages of populations in college in other countries. D is an interesting case, I think, actually. This is one where you probably have to read the whole thing. You can't always do this. You can't always get rid of an answer. Recent economic hardship has not caused a large increase in the number. So again, at first I'm like, okay, well, that seems a little strange. I hadn't really thought about economic hardship coming into play here, but in general, just because something's strange, that doesn't mean I get rid of it, right? Just because it's strange. In fact, a lot of times a strange answer is kind of the right answer, right? So hardship in Katrovia has not caused a large increase in the number of adults with college degrees. Okay, so it seems relevant. I'm talking about adults who have college degrees. But this says that it has not caused them to re-enter the job market after many years of retirement. And so that's when I check out. Talking about re-entering the job market after many years of retirement. That that just means there won't be like older college grads coming into the workforce. But I still have this fact about the number in college being higher. So I still wonder about the younger college grads entering the workforce, which seems to be the heart of the argument. So D just doesn't seem relevant here. And then E, for many years, employers in Cravonia, and that alone gets me, I'm like, okay, why would I be talking about employers? What could the employers tell me that has to do with the number of college grads entering the job market? I don't quite know what that's going to be. That could be relevant to this argument, whether that number is going to increase or decrease. Because again, I already know that there's more kids in college. Then it tells me that those employers have had difficulty. Okay, I don't really care if they've had difficulty in anything. I'm a little less certain. I'm more certain it's wrong. Finding enough college graduates, I don't care. Whatever. They haven't found. They want more college graduates. That's what. But who cares? I don't care. I know that there's more people in college. I want to know if that's going to mean there's more in the workforce, entering the workforce. Okay, so by here, I'm pretty much checked out. Okay, this is the exercise, right? It's just really being thoughtful about what the answer says and what you need the answer to do to help you decide sooner whether it's right or wrong. And this is something you can practice, and it's something you can do in review. So here is an exercise. I've given you the argument, and what I want you to do, I've taken out chunks of these answer choices, and I want you to narrow down. You probably won't be able to get to a final answer, but maybe you can. I want you to narrow down which of these answers could be correct and which ones wouldn't be correct. Okay, so take here 2 minutes to do the problem, to deconstruct the argument, and then narrow down from these answers, these partial answers, which ones could be correct. Okay, that is 2 minutes. If you are at home and you want a little extra time, go ahead and hit pause. This is actually one I think you should get to a right answer here, actually. You should not need the rest of the answer to decide which one of these is correct. That's why I think I did this one first, actually, because it just demonstrated the power of this. Now, again, it requires that you dissect the argument well. We have to really understand the scope of the argument, what the author's thinking here, right? So what this author is clearly trying to make me believe is that this is a forgery. This is a fake statue. Found a statue, maybe it's real, but it's got some weirdness, right? The surface is unusually uniform. And forgers often result, like a forger will often result with that uniformity because they put a chemical bath onto the fake to imitate a weathered surface. Okay, usually the weathering is uneven. This is uniform in a way that forgers make it look uniform. And so again, we're trying to weaken the argument, right? So I'm trying to wonder, like, maybe it's not a forgery. Maybe it's a genuine artifact, even though it has this uniformity to it that a chemical bath that forgers use tends to produce. Okay. And so I'm going for an answer that's going to suggest that, right? That somehow it's a genuine article despite the uniformity. Okay, well, A says museums can accept a recently unearthed statue only. So this is telling me what museums can and cannot do. And I can't care less right now. Does that mean this is what the rules of the museum? Does that tell me that the statue is a forgery or not? No, right? This is just telling us the parameters for when a museum can accept a statue, not whether this chemical wash, the uniformity, means it's a fake or not. So A is just, I don't care about the museum rules right now. It's who cares? B, the subject's pose and other aspects. I don't care. Again, I want to know if the chemical wash means it's fake or not. If the uniformity that looks like a chemical wash means it's fake or not. I don't care how the statue's posed. Again, maybe I could concoct some situation that would make this the right answer that makes me think it's not fake, but whether it's posed realistically or not, it still has the chemical wash to deal with, right? I really want to know about this chemical wash. And so I don't care about the pose and the other aspects of this statue. The chemical bath, well, that's already interesting, that forgers use was at one time used by dealers. Oh, so it's not just fakers who use the chemical wash. That seems relevant because if it was also used on authentic pieces, then maybe this fact that this one has the chemical wash doesn't mean it's fake. That's the right answer. I don't have to read the rest to know that that's the right answer. I mean, I would on the test, but for now, we're going to find that that's the right answer. I certainly wouldn't get rid of it by this point. The fact that the chemical wash was also used by dealers makes me think, oh, that's relevant. Museum officials believe that forgers have no technique. And again, maybe it depends maybe on what the rest has, but if it's talking about like other techniques, other faking techniques, I don't care. I don't care about other faking techniques. I want to know if this statue with this chemical wash, or if this statue that has the uniformity that seems to be caused by a chemical wash means it's fake or not. I don't care about other fake techniques. An allegedly Roman sculpture with a uniform surface similar to probably this. I don't. Most similarities are just not relevant. That's another statue in another place. What could you possibly say that makes me know? I guess an allegedly Roman sculpture. Well, even notice it says allegedly, so we don't even know if this sculpture is real or not. So how's that going to help me determine if the one I'm dealing with is real or not? It's just not going to be relevant. And the only thing that really stays correct is C. And if you look at the rest of the answer choices, so here's the full answers. Here's where I cut off. Cut off half these answers, if not more sometimes. I save myself from having to think about every word in these answers because the first words just don't matter. Okay. Same exercise. Yes, same exercise here. I've taken part of these are, I've left a little bit more in some of these. Uh, but take 2 minutes, and from these partial answers, choose the ones that are wrong and the ones that could be right. That's about 2 minutes. Okay. Again, if you want to keep working, hit pause. So requires a good deconstruction of the argument and thinking about what the answer needs to do, right? I have this story about these mines in Bolzania, surface mines. They passed a law. They had to pay, these operators had to pay a reclamation cost. 20 years ago, that law passed. And the technology now to do that has not gotten better, right? The technology is the same as it ever was, but it's gotten a lot cheaper uh, on average to reclaim one of these surface mines. So we're trying to explain that. Why has reclaiming a surface mine gotten so much cheaper, even though technology hasn't improved? Why has average cost of reclaiming a surface mine gotten cheaper, even though reclamation technology has not improved? Okay. By the way, all this stuff about dealing with arguments and deconstructing them, as I said, there's lots of videos on it. The 3 key questions of critical reasoning is one I've done. Weakeners in disguise, that's relevant to this particular question here. That's one I've done. I know Witt did one on just the assumption family. That's a great video to watch. Dimitri did one on, I think it was called just destroying arguments or something like that, similar to weakening arguments, but just a good argument, good CR video as well. We have plenty of videos out there about dealing with CR arguments, and it is a key part of this skill because you want to get to this place where you need to know what the answer needs to do, right? I really want to know how this could have happened. Why is it so much cheaper to reclaim a mine when the technology hasn't improved on average? Okay. So even after, and again, this is the kind of thing, even after, like, who cares? We already know that they began requiring surface miners to pay reclamation costs. So that whole chunk, who cares? It doesn't give me anything else. So coal mines are less expensive to operate. Coal mines in Bolzania are less expensive to operate. I'm very suspicious of they. I don't know, and maybe it's gonna, I don't know. Are they gonna, what are you gonna do compared to other countries, probably, or other forms of energy? I don't know, but it seems not to explain why reclamation costs have gone down, to say that, oh, coal mines are cheaper. Okay, whether they're cheaper or more expensive, why have reclamation costs gone down? That doesn't seem relevant. I'm pretty sure it's not A. Um, in the 20 years since regulations took effect, the use of coal as a fuel, again, what could come next? How could information about the use of coal as a fuel explain to me why reclaiming the mines on average has gotten so much cheaper? Whether we use a lot of coal as a fuel or a little coal as a fuel, that doesn't explain why the cost of reclamation has decreased when technology has not gotten better. So B is probably not going to be correct either. So I don't think it's B. C, mine operators have generally ceased surface mining in the mountainous areas of Bolzania because reclamation costs. This is one where, again, it's kind of weird here, right? I hadn't thought about stopping surface mining in mountainous areas. I don't know if that's relevant or not, but then it says because reclamation costs. Okay, well, this seems relevant. You're talking about the reclamation costs in the mountainous areas. I don't know yet if it's the right answer, but it seems like it could be. It's talking about reclamation costs of these mines in certain places. Maybe that's relevant to this situation. So I'm going to keep it. D, even after same thing as A, right? Who cares about this first part? It's just not helpful. We already know that they require this. So surface mines continue to produce coal. I kind of know. I think I'd need more. I think I would keep this around, right? Like, because where do they produce coal? What kind? Maybe it's again like C, talking about kinds of mines. D, at this point, I would keep reading. It doesn't seem like I would get rid of D. And then E, as compared to 20 years ago, a greater percentage of coal. I might keep reading it. I think I'd keep this one as well. I think it depends on what, because again, especially thinking about like what C and D, right? If we're talking about a percentage of coal, if it comes from mines where the reclamation costs are cheaper, well, that would explain it somehow, right? So I do think we'd keep E around, but it needs to be very narrowly tailored. Depends on what the rest of E says. Okay. So I think we get rid of A and D with from these, but I'd probably keep, I'm sorry, A and B, but I'd keep C, D, and E. I think they pass the muster enough with these to keep around. So let's pull up the rest of the answers, having gotten rid of A and B, and see what we got. Okay, so C, mine operators have ceased surface mining in the mountain areas because reclamation costs are high for those areas. So basically what C is saying is they've stopped working in places where reclamation costs are high. And that seems like that would lower the average reclamation costs. I kind of like the rest of C. It seems to do what I needed it to do. D says surface mines continue to produce coal at a lower cost than underground mines. Okay, I don't care. I'm not comparing surface mines to underground mines. I'm wondering why surface mine reclamation costs have gone down on average. So D with the rest of it is just irrelevant. A greater percentage of the coal mined comes from surface mines. Okay, similar to D, E is. Okay, but why is the reclamation cost gone down? Why are they cheaper to reclaim? Doesn't tell me. C is the only one that does that. Okay. All right. Goodness, we have about 10 minutes left. Do want to do some reading comp. If we have time, I'll come back to some other critical reasoning that I hoped to do. If not, I'll put it up for you to practice on and give a quick summary of my my thoughts on that. But for now, let's jump to some reading comp here. So this is a reading comp passage. By the way, all these are official questions from the official practice sets. I want you to take, oh, go ahead, take about 4.5 minutes here to read the passage and answer this question. But I also want you to try to put in practice the skill today where maybe you don't read every answer, every part of every answer in this question, because I think you don't need to. It's a waste of time. All right. So if you want to keep working, please hit pause if you're watching the recording. Um, but that's about how much time you should spend to read and answer a question like this. Similar to critical reasoning, right? There's many skills that have to come in play before we implement this on top of them, right? You have to be able to read a passage well and map a passage and deconstruct a passage. We have many videos on that. I encourage you to watch them. In general here, I have this passage about the origin of multinational corporations, right? It kind of starts out saying they came about in the 19th century when British firms made this change into like big hierarchies. Um, because there's so much volume and technology changed. And so it was like technology volume caused this hierarchical thing that became the multinational corporation. These other entities, these chartered trading companies in the 16th and 17th century, they were considered irrelevant. Their volume's too low. They didn't do enough, apparently. And then, of course, the first sentence of that second paragraph says, but actually, they were pretty busy. They did a lot, right? Okay, and so now I'm seeing that this is a pretty common setup where we're adding nuance to an argument, saying that this common belief is maybe flawed. Sometimes it'll be bold and say outright incorrect. I think this one's a little bit softer. It seems to just be like, hey, maybe we're overlooking something when we throw out these early chartered trading companies. They did a lot, they had a lot going on, large volume of transactions, yada, 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 yada. The last paragraph talks about the difference between these early trading companies and modern multinationals, right? So they aren't identical. They had a lot of differences, but last sentence, right, kind of wraps it up. They are organized in modern ways and merit further study as analogs of these more modern structures. So that's the basic gist of this. I get that. That's the main purpose. That's the main point is that, hey, these early chartered companies, maybe we should take a closer look at them regarding how multinational corporations came about. That's what I'm looking for. Um, and okay, so it's the main point that modern multinationals originated. I know this, it's not totally wrong, but I'm already a little bit skeptical because we're not saying that they definitely originated in these early chartered companies. And we're not, and the main point is not how they originated. So I'm not really trying to drive home. The main point is not how these multinational entities originated. So I'm already skeptical in A, and the rest of it doesn't help. Okay. We weren't saying that the establishment of the chartered trading companies was the origin of the modern multinationals. That's just too strong. That's not quite right. The last paragraph is how they are different. So A is out, and I'm pretty skeptical of it after that third word. B, the success of early chartered trading companies. Oh, let me do this actually. I'm just going to tell you the right answer is C. And I want you, now that you know that that's the right answer, I want you to really think about, as we did before, I want you to think about, take 2 minutes here. This will be the last thing we'll do today. Take 2 minutes here and pinpoint at what point in the wrong answer choice you can get rid of these. You could get rid of these other answers. All right, that's a minute and a half. Again, if you want more time, pause. Um, this is, by the way, a good candidate also for if, C really, if it does what you need it to do, choose and get out of there, right? You don't need to read D&E at all. But for practice, you can, review and think about the answers, get a better feel how the test works. I would get rid of B, the success of early, I don't like, we're not talking about the success of early charter trader companies. It's just not the main point. We're not talking about whether they were successful or not. Seems like they were successful, right? We know they were operating globally, but that's not the main point. The point is that they deserve more credit or deserve more observation and study determining the origins of multinationals. So I'm done with that pretty much right here. Scholars are quite mistaken. I'm pretty much done. That's too strong. It's a short answer. I guess you could read the rest, but that's not the point. That's too strong for what this author says. I do want to point out that strong does not always mean incorrect. And there's kind of maybe a little bit of bias in saying like, oh, get rid of an answer for being too extreme. The GMAT is a little, in my opinion and experience, is a little more tolerant of extreme answers. It just needs to be justified by the language. The SAT and the ACT, those tended to not ever have any extreme language justified, or very rarely, but every now and then the GMAT does allow it. So don't be too quick to get rid of extreme answers. But if it's not an extreme language and we're not saying scholars are quite mistaken, don't choose it. The management structures of early charter trading companies, I would maybe keep that around because we're talking about how that played a part or might have played a part in the origin of multinationals. But then we say are fundamentally the same, and I'm out because we never said anything was fundamentally the same as anything, and certainly not as modern multinationals. We said that they were very different in many ways. So E is out. C is the right answer here. Okay. For some little extra practice here, I'm going to pull up some other questions we could do and tell you, just you can pause if you're watching the recording, you can pause, do the exercise, right? Try to think about where you could stop reading wrong answers, right? Try to you put this skill into play. And I'll tell you where I would probably look at these. Okay, so go ahead and pause and take a look at this one. Okay. All right, so here we're talking about the various activity. The author lists the various activities of early chartered trading companies, and so that's done here. And why are we doing that? Well, the whole point is to say that like they had a lot of volume and maybe were more in play than we considered, right? The large volume of transactions. That's why they're here. We're starting to think the volume is too low. So we're trying to say somehow that they merit closer look because their volume was actually quite high. Even right off the bat on analyze, we're not really analyzing anything. You can look at verbs often in reading comp to get a good sense. You can, again, maybe don't want to over rely on this, but it gets you a pretty good sense of whether the answer is going to do what we need to do. So analyze the various ways. We're not analyzing various ways. We're just listing what they did for the purpose of how much volume it developed or how much volume they moved. Demonstrate. Okay, I like that word. I can buy demonstrate. In fact, I would say D is right until the last three words, excuse me. Demonstrate that the volume of business transactions of subs companies exceeded, even that could be right, because if it exceeded what scholars had considered before, that would be right. But then, of earlier firms is not the comparison we draw. So B is wrong, but only because of the last three words. So as much as this drill is about, stopping early, it's important that you also finish answers. Don't choose an answer as correct until you've really got every piece of it to fit, because these last few words can often make a right answer wrong, and they do that intentionally. C, refute the view that the volume of businesses, okay, good. So we're talking about volume undertaken by such companies, these chartered trading companies, was low. Yeah, the whole purpose is to say they're high. So C is the right answer. I could choose and move on. Emphasize the international scope. No, I don't think that's quite right. We're talking about volume. Support the argument that such firms coordinated such activities. We're not talking about, by using. So we're not talking about how they coordinated activities. That I can kind of stop paying attention there. All right. Yeah, let's do this one as well. Same kind of drill. Hit pause, work on this, look at the answers, think about when you can stop reading them. And I will describe when I think you can kind of stop paying attention, or at least get a good sense that it's wrong, and then the rest of the answer should confirm it. Okay. So the correct answer is A. Yeah, complex in scope. That's kind of the whole point of these trading companies. The author says, hey, they're pretty complicated. They deserve more look. Too simple. That's the exact opposite. I can stop reading. As intricate as, again, that's one of those, like, we never really said equality. That's never the point. So that alone gets me skeptical. And then certainly not as intricate as multinationals. That's not the point. Okay, that's too extreme in a way of extreme equality. We're saying that they deserve more looks, but not exactly the same. Often unprofitable. I'm done. I don't have to read the rest of that. Hampered by political demands. I don't know. That's not what they said. They said that they worked for their company, their countries, but that's not the same thing as hampered by political demands. So again, I'm pretty done by these moments if I haven't already chosen A and moved on. All right, last but not least, I do want to do one last critical reasoning. We did that one. Go ahead and pause. Take 2 minutes, work through this, and I will let you know when I think you can stop reading. Okay, I think you can stop reading on A around here. The market for cheap traditional bicycles. I don't think that's going to be relevant for how innovation is going to happen. I'm skeptical in B around workshops. Like, I don't think the size of the workshop is going to be relevant to this question. I want to know if the restrictions of bicycle races and what the authorities decide will really hamper innovation or not. C is the correct answer. Basically says that some bicycle racers want innovations even if they can't use it in a race. That's relevant, right? D, I'm skeptical after results primarily from the technological conservative bicycle manufacturers, results primarily from. I don't think the rest of that's going to be relevant to this question. And E, it's the short answer, but I'd probably be skeptical by do not keep informed. The authorities who set standards for bicycle racing, okay, well, they're definitely part of the argument. But whether they keep informed about anything doesn't seem relevant. The point is, what they allow in races will drive innovation, because the only cyclists who really care about innovations are racers. So the whole question is, but do the racers care about innovation even if they can't race with it, right? That's why C is correct, but all these others, I can be pretty sure they're wrong by that moment. Okay. I hope this, if anything, again, I don't know if this is, what's the word? This is pretty in the weeds of critical reasoning, right? This is something that you really start to practice after you've really kind of mastered a lot of other things. I want to emphasize that again. But hopefully it got your mind percolating. And hopefully, if nothing else, it made you think just like, I've never thought about not reading every word in the verbal section. I kind of do read every word in the verbal section. That needs to be something I probably don't do, because damn it, there's not time for that. So if anything, I hope that's what you got from this. But in order to not do that, you have to really put in good thought, and you have to really know what you're doing up front to get to the point where you don't have to read the rest of an answer, because it's just not correct. The topic it deals with is not relevant to what the passage says and what the answer needs. All right, that is your free prep hour for September 23rd. Again, come to our upcoming courses. You're going to attend it for free, that first session. Love to see you there. Check out our library on YouTube for other free GMAT prep hours. Otherwise, I will see you at the next one. And until then, best of luck in your studies. And we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.